Hello friends, and welcome back to another video. Today I'll be talking about my character's designs and the relevance of certain design elements. First up is Remus. Remus is a full-blooded vampire. He's around 19 to 21 in the story. So to start, I'll talk about his fangs. His fangs are longer than typical vampires you'd see, and that's because of him being a pure-blood vampire. Vampires in the stories are regarded as higher-class citizens, and within the societal hierarchy, there is also the hierarchy of vampires specifically. Vampires with both parents being vampires are at the top and have distinguishing physical features that are mostly just typical vampire features like dark hair and pale skin, but they also have yellow eyes and longer fangs. Half-vampires that have one vampire parent and a non-vampire, non-siren, or non-demon parent are at the middle. Half-vampires that have one vampire parent and a demon or siren parent are at the bottom and are regarded as the lowest class of society despite still being half-vampires. These hierarchies are not as relevant in society as in decades prior, but are still seen in present day. One thing I kept from Remus's old design is the fact that he has prominent dark circles under his eyes. I made sure to have a reason behind it to justify keeping it. The reason being that Remus works for a devil, one of the rulers of one of the 3 domains in this universe. I'll explain more about this in a future video, but the gist is that Remus doesn't usually sleep more than 2 hours a night. Next is Chandan. He's physically around 23 to 25. I say physically because Chandan is a demon, meaning he's at the lower end of the societal hierarchy. So one thing about demons like Chandan is that things like their tongue, sclera, blood, and horns are all black. There's a reason behind this, but I'm making a video that will explain it better in more detail and with more context in the future. But I can talk about his Glasgow smile. Chandan was originally human and was cursed to be a demon. He was often attacked back when he was a human for reasons I'll explain in a separate video about him. One of these attacks resulted in his Glasgow smile and left permanent scars. Another attack left him with his disfigured ears. His white hair is like a signifier that he was a created demon instead of a demon by creation, if that makes sense. He also has a design element that I forgot to include. Well, it's more like I'm flipping between whether or not to keep the plotline that would result in him having scars on his neck and chest. I usually forget about them and then also forget to decide on the plotline. Next up is Alexander. He's around 17 to 18 and in his senior year of high school. I am going to explain him in depth here, mostly because I can't avoid talking about it. So in order to give you guys context, I'll have to explain a little bit of lore from my story. So I've mentioned that there are 3 domains in this universe, and that there are multiple devils. There are also gods and angels. So gods and devils aren't like the Christian idea of God and Satan. There is no moral difference between them. The gods and devils are only called this for simplicity on my end. Gods exist to monitor the domain that all of my characters here live in. This domain is called the middle domain. Gods and angels exist in the above domain, devils and demons in the below domain. I'll explain more about the devils in a separate video because you only need to know in-depth information about the gods for this video. In the middle domain, there are certain people who are called children of the gods because they're just that. All of them are humans, but they sometimes have non-human physical characteristics that they share with whatever god or goddess they came from. They can also have some kind of power that relates to whatever that god or goddess is the god or goddess of. In Alexander's case, he's the child of the goddess of space and the goddess of time. He shares physical characteristics with the goddess of space, giving him pale skin, light blonde hair, and very light eyes, also making him look vastly different from his family. In his family, there's usually one kid per generation that's the child of a god, and either looks like one of the goddesses, or has powers, or both. Alexander has both. He's a clairvoyant because of the goddess of time. Because clairvoyance is usually one of the powers of a child of a god in his family, his grandma was already prepared and had his glasses on hand in case he ended up having powers. Alexander doesn't actually need glasses, but he wears them because of his powers. Whenever he looks at someone, he unwillingly sees into their future, and because he doesn't have a very good control of his powers, he ends up seeing far enough into their future to see their deaths. Obviously, this is pretty awful, so that's where the glasses come in. His glasses have a very strong prescription, and it makes it to where he either doesn't see people's futures when he looks at them, or he can't make out their futures. I haven't decided yet. This doesn't stop him from having prophetic dreams or visions though, and he's had many sleepless nights, hence the eye bags again. I also decided to draw him in his school's uniform to remind myself that he is still in high school, because I tend to forget which characters are in school and which aren't. Lastly is Belzebub, one of the devils. Each devil represents one of the 7 deadly sins. I ripped this idea from Binsfield's classification of demons. I will not be talking about Belzebub individually though, because I have a video planned for right after this one about each of the devils and their designs. I will, however, be talking about the shared design features of the devils and the reasons behind them so that I won't have to re-explain for each devil in my future video. So the devils were all originally angels that worked under a single god, and each had one of the 7 deadly sins that they embodied and monitored in the beings existing in the middle domain. Because of this, all the devils share physical traits with angels, and I will be comparing their shared traits to the same physical traits in angels. Angels have circular horns that grow into each other. When the devils became rulers of their own domain, they lost the right to these kinds of horns and bent them so that they wouldn't grow together again. Angels also have a shadowy part around their eyes that the devils also distorted in their own personalized way. Each of the devils embody the temptation of their sin and the cost of embodying that sin. What I mean by the cost is that if a being existing in the middle domain were to embody a sin like one of the devils, it would corrupt their physical form in a similar way to the devils. And with that is all the shared traits of the devils. If you're interested in learning more about them individually, please come back to watch my next video. Remember to leave a like and comment what you liked about the video. If you want to see more of this content, subscribe to let me know you want more.